The national budget is nothing more than deciding what to do with scarce resources. Resources are scarce because governments cannot tax companies and individuals indefinitely. If you have scarce resources, you have to prioritize, and the budget is very much about prioritizing the expenditure. So if you've got so much money available, what are you going to spend it on? There is, of course, always the option to borrow, and government has been doing that in recent years. The problem with borrowing is you pay interest on it and you eventually need to pay it back. And there is the risk that if you borrow too much, that the debt ratio keeps on increasing indefinitely. And then you start getting risks of debt traps, and interest payments start to eat up most of your revenue, and so less and less is available for spending elsewhere. So the budget is very much about this balancing act, about deciding, number one, how much revenue you can raise, from what sources, and then prioritizing on what you're going to spend it. And then if you do spend more than your revenue, the guiding principle should be, and I think this is a very important principle, is that you shouldn't be borrowing to spend on consumption. You should be borrowing to spend on capital expenditure. Now, why it's important that you as an individual should follow a budget, of course, is because it impacts your life directly. It impacts your back pocket. Firstly, it's going to tell you how much tax you're going to pay. And remember, you don't just pay tax on the salary that you're earning. You pay tax on the goods that you buy. You pay tax on the savings products that you have. If you earn interest, if you earn dividends, if you buy an asset and eventually sell that asset, you pay a capital gain on that. And the budget very much tells you what you will be paying on all of that. The budget also affects your life in the longer term, because it sometimes contains announcements around retirement taxes, and that will have an implication for your long-term retirement planning. The budget is more than just these rands and cents. Yes, the government will tell you how much money it's going to take from you. It might give you an idea on what incentives you might have for certain savings products where you can save taxes. Government will tell you on what it's going to spend the money. So it's spending on your behalf. It's spending on education and spending on roads. But ultimately, it's far more than that. It's about what government is putting in place for the long-term development of the country, what support government gives during tough times, how fiscal policy fits into the overall framework of the economic development of South Africa and the upliftment of all South Africans in the long term. That is essentially the context within which the budget should be seen.